hope it works because it's in Google Docs. Well, like slideshow things.
That'll work. Well, hey, our next guest is one of our international podcasters who's doing some really amazing stuff, amazing interviews with her show. And her name is Joy Nicholson. She lives in New Zealand, and she says a self-proclaimed marketing geek. Her podcast is a mix between the entrepreneurial journey and other entrepreneurs and their journey and her journey, along with asking advice from the gurus on their marketing strategies and advice for new entrepreneurs. Her perfect listener is someone that is starting their journey or that have started but are stuck, and they are not sure where to expect their journey to go and which way to turn. As we all know, it is not always easy. So motivation is always key in her podcast, and she's had the privilege to interview some really amazing people. And we're honored to have all the way from New Zealand. I'm correct on that, right? New Zealand, I didn't get that wrong, right?
No, you're right. I don't have the New Zealand accent, but you are right.
That's good. Well, I remembered last time we talked. That's awesome. But we're excited to have Joy Nicholson join us here from across the globe there. So this is so awesome to have you on here, Joy.
Thank you for the opportunity. I really, really appreciate that. It's really, really cool. I'm very excited to share with you guys, Yeah,
definitely. And you said you got some slides you want to go through. We'll dive in with Q&A. And look, guys, you're going to learn some stuff from Joy. Joy's got a great show. She does it on YouTube as well with just some really great marketing experts. So I'm looking forward to your presentation. So if you want to hit share your screen.
Yeah, let me do that. Bear with me here.
Yeah.
And just, it's a bit slow.
It's all right. There we go.
Okay. Let me see. Okay, can you see my screen all right?
I see it perfect. You got it perfect working.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so I'm doing a bit of a backstory as well. So I'm going to put my face over there. Okay.
Cool.
So my show is, I nearly rebranded it. It used to be called The Entrepreneurial Journey with Joy Nicholson. And I felt I was competing quite a lot with other entrepreneurial shows. And I thought to myself, okay, you know what? Let's rebrand it to what it actually is, because I'm a complete and utter marketing geek. I've been in the marketing industry for probably about 10-ish years, and I just geek out about all these strategies. So I thought to myself, okay, let's rebrand it. And I only did this about a couple of weeks ago. So this opportunity, Scott, is actually perfect timing, where I'm now calling it the Marketing Wizard Show. And so who am I? I'm a mom of 2 young children. One is 3, well, almost 3. One is 6. I'm happily married. I'm originally from South Africa, but I've been living in New Zealand for about 7 years. And so that's who I am. And so why did I start my podcast? I just want to give you guys a little bit of a backstory, why I started this podcast and how it basically came about and where I got my inspiration from to where it is now. So about a year ago, I did a thing called an OFA challenge. So for you guys that don't know, it's basically, it's getting your digital marketing degree in 30 days in a nutshell. That's what it is. And in this challenge, one of the first things that I've learned is that you need to publish every single day. If you look at people like Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, I don't know, I can't think of, even if you think of the president of the United States, right?
There you go.
I mean, everybody knows Donald Trump. What do they do every day that stands out? They in the public eye, right? They publish. So this challenge has taught me to do either, if you're into writing, then write a blog. If you're into videos, do a vlog, and obviously then do a voice podcast. Now, I was very shy of doing any video thing. I never actually intended to turn my podcast into a vlog ever. Like it didn't even cross my mind. I am not, because English is not my first language. I am terrible at writing. I call it glamour because I want to make it sound fabulous. At my glamour and my spelling is so terrible. So it's my glamour. But yeah, so I decided, okay, fine. Why do I want to start a podcast? Because I want to make an impact. I want to build a tribe. With making an impact, I really genuinely want to help people, because I have been on this entrepreneurial journey for a few years now, and I know that it is not easy. And, I want to build a tribe, people that can follow me, but not just because they follow me because I'm like, ooh, people are following me. I actually want people to follow me because I want to make an impact in their lives in a positive way, inspire them, motivate them. And, because it's so easy to just give up. I have so many friends that started the journey and then they're like, okay, I can't do this, I'm giving up. And I want to avoid people from doing that. And also, as a bonus, I want to drive traffic to the links that I put in my podcast. But that only came much later. That was not the initial goal. So it never crossed my mind to turn my podcast into a vlog. So how did it happen? The first 16 episodes was absolutely horrible, 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 horrible. Like if I listen back to it, I'm like, oh, I can't believe I actually did that. Episode 17, well, basically about episode 14, I decided, okay, I'm going to start interviewing people because I need to get myself out there. And the very first interview that I booked was a guy named Galen. We actually, we did the interview, but we only published it much later. Long story on his side, but he said to me, he said, Joy, listen, I've got a podcast. It's an existing podcast, but I recommend that you don't just do a podcast interview with me on, your podcast, but actually do it on video, do it on YouTube. And I was like, oh, me, video. Already at that stage, I started to do some go lives on Facebook, but I really sucked. I wasn't confident in front of the camera. I'm very shy. I'm an introvert. So, doing something like that for me is really, really hard. So I said, okay, fine. Okay, I'll do it. So he convinced me to do that. So I can't even remember. I think he was about 30-ish or 20-something-ish episode. We eventually published the episode that I did with him. But he was my very first person, that I've actually interviewed, or my second person that I interviewed. So that's how it came about, that I actually turned my podcast into a vlog. So for anybody that are scared to do it, if you just have a podcast and you're not actually on YouTube at all, I really encourage you to do it. It opens up a different traffic brand. You get exposed to other people, and I'll get into, growing that in a minute. So knocking false beliefs. Okay, so I had a plan. I thought to myself, okay, I'm nervous, I'm scared. What if I failed? What if this is horrible? What if people hate me? What do I do then? What do I publish about? I have no clue. I didn't know what to talk about. I knew I was a marketing geek. I knew I know my stuff, but what do I talk about? Because if you just start out talking to people like, this is how you market your business, I've seen other podcasts and it's not enough. So I started looking into what other people were doing. What are they doing? I looked at the top podcasters, and even people like, if you look at, I'm going to use Dean Graziosi because I do like him a lot. And his podcast is not just about marketing things, though he's like a multimillionaire. He's like super rich. And he inspires people as well on his podcast. And I thought, okay, he's got a mix between inspiring people, teaching people, motivating people. So that's kind of where I was aiming for. And I also followed another guy called Stephen Larson. He is one of the coaches from the OFA Challenge. And I thought, okay, that's kind of where I want to be in. Not exactly, but it kind of falls into that, like that frame of things. So what did I achieve in this podcast? I really learned a lot of confidence. Being a shy person was really, really hard. I was one of those people. Funny enough, I was actually in sales, being socially awkward. But I did a lot of phone sales. I did telesales. I did high ticket sales. I worked for a company, but I worked from home. But one of the things that I had to do, I was basically selling, this is a few years ago, I was selling a software program. And what I had to do is then once I sold it, I need to go to the client and go and install it. That was my job. And it was a great job because I didn't actually have to deal with people face to face because I was so socially awkward. And I remember the one time there was this massive, massive event, the sales event. And my boss said to me, listen, you need to go to this event and you need to go network with people. And I was like, oh, me network with people. Oh, I don't know. I can't do this. So I was like, okay, fine. So I walked into this room and I remember there was this big table on the left-hand side that has like glasses of wine and champagne and some snacks and things. And the whole room was packed, probably about 100 plus salespeople. Now, everybody that knows salespeople, they are bubbly. They're just basically a different breed in a good way, because they're extroverts, they're out there, they just, all over the place. And I was like the social awkward person. I'm like, how on earth am I going to speak with all these people? I don't even know how to network. And I grabbed a glass of wine and I thought, okay, I'm really going to need this if I'm going to be able to speak with these people. And even that didn't encourage me. I was still shy. And now I went from that awkward, shy person that didn't know how to have a conversation with people that I didn't know to having confidence where I can now literally just start a conversation with anybody on the street. And that's, for me personally, that is something that I never had before. And even my husband is like, wow, okay. I like to make a difference. I like to make a difference in people's lives. Even if I can just inspire you to start something up, doesn't matter how small, for me, that is big. And I have been doing that. I have inspiring people to start their own businesses. Some of them have not really seen success yet, but I know at least they have put themselves out there and they have started. And I'm having conversations with people almost on a daily basis, just encouraging them and helping them along the way. And that's where the helping people come in, because that's what I do. I've got a Facebook group, and then I just literally from my podcast, my vlog, it goes to my Facebook group as well. Not a lot of the traffic yet because I'm still growing my vlog, but at least for my podcast. And that's why I'm keeping encouraging people, and I'm teaching people, and I just, motivate them from there as well. I get the traffic to my links, so much so that I decided in the last 7 weeks that I really want to grow my blog, because I only have like 40 something subscribers. And I know I've got really, really good, amazing people that I'm interviewing. And it's just all about your SEO, your algorithms, and, this little hack, Scott, you've been growing yours as well. And I decided to join Marley Jackson's program. Now, for me, that is a big achievement. I haven't been in a paid coaching program for a long time. And for me to have done that was also out of my comfort zone. So I'm very excited. So big things to come on my vlog. And she's just going to help me to set it all up where I can actually turn my vlog into a monetizational vlog. That makes sense. Okay. So I have a relaunch coming on my podcast, which I also want to talk to you guys about. So this is basically my last slide as well. I have learned on my last journey, all of 2019, that marketing strategies are awesome to talk about because people like it. People like the fact that I motivate them. People like the fact that I am interviewing other people that have been on their journey. But one thing that I've noticed, especially with my students that I'm coaching, is that they lack focus, they lack discipline, and they have no idea how to set goals and keep with them, which is 3 simple things that came naturally to me in the end. But if I look back and I look at myself and where I started out, I struggled with focus and discipline. Goal setting was always okay with me, but focus and discipline was a big problem, especially because I've got 2 small kids. So a relaunch of my podcast is coming soon, where I'm not going to completely relaunch it, but I'm going to just turn it around a little bit, where I'm going to start moving slowly away from talking too much about sales funnels and marketing things, but focus on, discipline and how people to just, stay on their entrepreneurial journey, and give them the little hacks that they need to succeed. And then ultimately build their business from scratch. Because when you start on your entrepreneurial journey, it's easy to say like, oh, make money online. It's so easy to do that. But if you don't have those basic habits in place, you're not going to make it. And that's where that comes in. And so, that's basically what my podcast is going to be about going forward. But at the same time, it's still going to have the value that it has now. I'm still going to interview amazing people. I've interviewed some multimillionaires on the podcast that has given some really great marketing tips. And those type of things I will definitely continue, because the value that I have received out of that, the value that my listeners have received out of that has been really amazing. I've had people that come to me after they've listened to an episode and say, wow, Joy, that was really good. Thank you for that you got this guy on, because I've actually learned so much, and that's exactly what I needed in my business. And those are the things that drives me to keep doing that. And that's it. So entrepreneurial journey is now the marketing, the marketing show podcast, the Marketing Wizards podcast, and it's going to continue with that, with these little things in place. Thanks, Scott.
That's awesome, Joy. That's exciting, huh?
Yes, I'm very excited. I'm very nervous, but because it's a big thing. I've got about almost 100 episodes now, but it's it's something that needs to happen, because that's the focus that I was in.
If you would give one tip to somebody out there who's struggling with the same thing, what would you tell them?
Get a coach, because that's exactly what I did. Before I spoke to Marley, I didn't speak directly to her. I spoke to one of her employees, and I had a big strategy session with him. And in that 20-minute strategy session, I learned more in that 20 minutes of where I want to take my business, where I need to focus on, all of those things that I have done in the last few months. And interesting enough, when I started this journey, I had a coach, but I had to fire him. But I had a coach because it just eventually the value just wasn't there anymore. But yeah, so I would always recommend, like, even if you can't afford it, make money until you can afford a coach, because it's so important.
Awesome. What's the best way for people to reach out to Joy to find out more about you, connect with you?
My email address will be good, or find me on Facebook, but my email is joy@marketingwizardsonline.com, or my Facebook group, which is the same name. So it's just my brand all over the place. And that's hence why I changed my podcast to be the same too. So it all just ties in.
There you go. Well, great stuff. Thank you for sharing. You're doing an awesome job. You definitely look a little energized and things and rocking and rolling. You always got energy, but you're just Yeah, maybe just came back from vacation, huh?
I always have energy. I don't know why. I'm always pumped up. It's like I'm a little bit cuckoo like that, but it's how I
Hey,
roll.
that's why we get along so well. I get the same cuckoo disease. That's good stuff. Well, thanks, Joy, for sharing here on Pitch a Pod Pitch, and we look forward to your continued success and new things with the new relaunch of the show.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks
Thanks,
for
Joy.
this opportunity.
Oh, anytime. Bye. That was good.
Bye.